the list of questions anyway.
Hey, this is Lasers, Dragons, and Keyboards. I'm Aaron DeMott.
I'm
Josh
Liberty's
Hart.
and I'm Liberty's Spidel Hart. Welcome to our show this week. So today we have with us John Otte. So, Josh, why don't you introduce our guest?
That's John Otte, not John Otter.
Yes.
An important distinction, yeah.
Very much
Yes.
so.
So, John Otte is a husband, a father, a Lutheran pastor, and a big old geek. He graduated from Concordia University in St. Paul, Minnesota, with a theater major, and then from Concordia Seminary in St. Louis, Missouri.
Personally, I'd say he's more average-sized, but...
I mean, have you met him? I mean, his wingspan is like huge.
By night, he writes unusual stories of geeky grace. He lives in the Kansas City area with his wife and 2 boys. Well, hello, John.
Hello.
Hello. One of these days, we'll let Josh actually finish a sentence.
More traditions, kind of that's always good.
Yeah, I mean, considering the two of us are married, that happens, when we're not on a recording session either.
Yeah. So we have a fine tradition, again, another tradition of starting off with a typical set of questions. What is your name? What is your quest? And what is your favorite color?
Okay, well, my name is John W. Otte. My quest is... I'm about to get thrown into the pit of doom, aren't I?
Yep.
Yes.
I just drew a complete blank.
I hate when that happens, and I'm glad it's not just me.
Yes.
I would say my quest is to write the best stories that I can. That's, one quest. So, and the one that, we're going to talk about today. And my favorite color is purple.
All right.
Nice. So John, why don't you tell us about your latest projects? I know you've recently been doing a Kickstarter.
Yeah. So it's kind of a twisting tale. Back in 2017, I was teaching at a homeschool writing conference called the 1 Year Adventure Novel. It's put out by Clearwater Press, run by Dan Schwabauer. And while I was on stage teaching about villains and supervillains, I had an idea for a book that would be a dystopian sort of retelling of the Book of Esther from the Bible. And I spent some time working on it. I went through a lot of versions and revisions and stuff like that. Finally put together a first draft. Couldn't find any traction or interest from a publisher. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to just try this out and go on Kickstarter and see if I can raise the funds to publish it myself. And so about a year ago, I had my first successful Kickstarter for Drawn in Ash, and that was released in December of last year. And just a couple of weeks ago, I wrapped up a Kickstarter campaign successfully to publish the sequel, which is called Drawn Through Blood.
Very cool.
I can just imagine the people in this lecture. Wait, why has he stopped talking? What's he writing down? Writers, they do that. They're very eccentric. Just ignore him.
Yeah, the way I remembered it was that I was sort of, making this, this storyline about Esther and a girl going through a demented beauty pageant. And I think I kind of told the participants, hey, if anybody wants to do something with that, you're free to do something with that. And then 5 seconds later, I said, no, actually, that one's mine. You can't have that. I want that one. So
Nice.
Awesome.
So do you plan on doing a third book or?
Yes, I am in the process of pre-writing the third book. I'm outlining the chapters as we speak. It was interesting. I was at the 1 Year Adventure Novel conference again this past week, and I got to hang out with Megan Gehrig, who's been editing my books. And
Nice.
yesterday at lunch, we spent about a half hour talking about plans for the third book, and talking with her, and geeking out about ideas and all that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun. So it's kind of lit a fire under me to actually get started on the first draft now.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
I'm probably going off the rails already, but I wanted to talk about the Kickstarter process. I've seen a lot of people doing that these days. I've kind of thought about it a little bit, but I don't know, people tend to look at me and close their wallets, and I've kind of let's see, if I start a Kickstarter, probably one person will give me $5. And so, yeah, how'd that process go about the Kickstarter? Did you advertise the Kickstarter? How'd that process go for you?
Well, the process was interesting. When people say that I've had a successful Kickstarter, I say, let's define what success is. Because I did meet my funding goal, but I'm not sure I did it right. And now I've done it twice, and I'm pretty sure I still haven't done it right. So the best advice that I can give you is to go to the Novel Marketing Podcast. I hope it's okay to cross
Yeah,
promote other
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
podcasts.
I listen to that one a lot, so it's a good one.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, Thomas Umstad had a guest on who had kickstarted his books, and listening to that is what kind of gave me the impetus to go ahead and try mine. So he had some great advice on there,
Mhm.
and what I discovered was I didn't take out ads like on Facebook or anything. I just said, all right, a couple months before I launched the Kickstarter, I spammed as many people as I could in private messages on Facebook. Just not and this is the thing. This is directly from Thomas's podcast. He said, you don't ask people to back the Kickstarter. You ask them to look at a preview of it and give you advice. And then they
Interesting.
look at it and say, I like this part, or I don't like this part, or you should change the wording here. And
Mhm.
by doing that, people will be a little bit more open to come back and maybe back you when it actually goes live.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I did that with, I think, somewhere around 100 to 150 people before Facebook really started messing me up. Thanks,
Uh-huh.
algorithms.
Of
Mm.
course.
And yeah. And then once the Kickstarter was live, I made sort of an effort to post something on social media every other day about it. And it wasn't just, hey, give me money. It was, hey, let's talk about this aspect of the project, or how did I come up with this idea for the book, or, what's the process that I followed in writing it. And then I would post something on Kickstarter about that as well, so that it wasn't just, hey, this is a commercial, please give me money. It's, hey, I want to tell you about this project and some of the behind the scenes stuff. And as long as you're here, if you feel like it, you know, I will gladly accept your money.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty sound strategy. I'm almost 100% certain I've listened to that episode of the Novel Marketing podcast too. So I'll have to link to it in our show notes.
So,
So,
and I had pretty good success. I mean, there's also the fact that I've got a wide reach among a bunch of different,
Mhm.
communities. So I have
hmm
parishioners, since I am a Lutheran pastor, and I have to be very cognizant of how I interact with them, because I don't want them to think, oh, Pastor John is asking us to give him money for his hobby, and that's just kind of rude. Uh, at the same, and then I have my writer community, I have some reader community, I have people that follow me on Instagram for some reason, I don't know why. And yeah, so I was able to tap into a bunch of different communities and a bunch of different circles in different ways.
yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah, because it shows that you've got, interest from not just, other authors, but, other people too. So hopefully readers. That's the important thing, right? Readers.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
that is the key.
yep. So,
Now, I might be going off the rails a little bit, but you had mentioned, the fact that you're a pastor. Like, how does that play into, because you write speculative fiction, which, historically has been seen as kind of taboo among more conservative groups. Like, how do you deal with that tension between your hobby and your um your job or calling?
Sure. I think I'm very fortunate in that I come out of the Lutheran tradition because Lutherans aren't as uptight about the speculative fiction elements as much.
Okay.
And now there are some that are very cautious about certain aspects of it, like the witchcraft or Satanism or stuff like that. But
Mm.
I have not met many Lutherans who say that all speculative fiction of this type is evil and therefore should be avoided and stuff like
Mm.
that. So you know so when I hear stories, and I do hear stories about speculative fiction authors who get attacked at their church because oh, you write Christian fiction but you have magic in it, even though it's scripturally based and even though it points to God and glorifies Jesus and all that. Oh, you're of the devil and therefore must be shunned and avoided. I've never had that experience from one of my
Okay.
members or for somebody who's it's actually funny. Drawn in Ash has a rune-based magic system, and uh, when my book was published, a bunch of the little old ladies at the congregation, okay, they'd be offended if they knew I called them that. Um, some of our veteran church members, shall we
A lot
say,
more diplomatic.
yeah, they came to like the book signing at Barnes and Noble. They all bought copies, and some of them are so excited after reading the book. And I look at them and I'm saying, "You are not the target market for this book, and I would not think that you would enjoy this so much." And I would think that some of them would be the ones that would raise their eyebrows and say, "You've got people casting magic spells and all that," and they just absolutely loved it. As a matter of fact, I was a couple weeks ago, I was making a shut-in visit uh, to somebody in the congregation. This is a couple that can't get out, and so I'm just chatting with them, and they said,
Mm.
"Hey, we hear that your book's really good." And I looked at them like, What?" And it turns out one of their friends had bought the book, and she's a retired individual as well, and had stopped by and was telling them all about it, and they were so excited about it. And I said, "Okay, so this is pretty cool."
That is really neat.
That is fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the pushback I get is not so much theological as it is time management. There are some people who have expressed concerns about the fact that how much time are you spending doing this, and should you be refocusing yourself on ministry stuff and things like
Mm.
that. So I have to be very clear about, I have boundaries about when I work on my writing and when I don't work on
Mhm.
my writing, and this is my
Mhm.
hobby. And yeah, I post about it a lot on social media, but hey, I watch your social media and you post a lot about your cats or your garden or whatever it is, so
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you brought that up because a lot of people, oh, writing, you can't be wasting time on this, and they wouldn't have a second, probably wouldn't have a second thought if you spent that much time playing golf or another acceptable hobby.
Mhm.
Right.
I just find that
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I know my pastor, they're big into fishing, and I think at least one of them is into golf, and it's like, well, that's a acceptable hobby, but if we're sitting down behind a computer to either write or play video games or something like that, why is that unacceptable all of a sudden? So it's
Right.
another outlet where we relax and help fuel ourselves. So
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. There was somebody who was complaining a little bit about the time management, and when I told my wife about it, she said, "Do you want me to go to explain to them what would happen if you weren't writing, and how this would
No.
turn out for everybody?" Because I'm like, yeah, because that pressure would build up, and I'd probably break at some point if
yeah,
if I can't get this stuff out.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think any author, regardless of what field they are in, otherwise, not whether it's ministry or anything else. I think any author could say the same thing. If we're not writing, we
Yeah.
will break at some point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So John, do you have a favorite scene or character from your book series?
There's Liberty gets us back on script.
That's my job.
Without you, we'd be all over the place. But anyway, sorry.
No.
In terms of favorite character, I have a lot of little favorite characters. It's weird. Some of my favorite characters are side characters. For example, there's a character in Drawn Through Blood. That's the second book. Hasn't come out yet. But my beta readers and editor have fallen in love with one character who shows up in like 3 chapters. And I've actually received death threats over this character, where a beta reader actually wrote to me and said, and if you kill this character or hurt him in any way, shape, or form in your 3rd book, I will hunt you down and make you pay. And
hello, police.
Yeah, I understand why, because this character is hilarious and I love him to death. But I was like, okay, I'm glad everybody else loves him as much as I do. Probably my favorite scene in the books that's out right now, Drawn in Ash. There's a scene in the middle of the book where Everest and Narius, the king and queen, are sitting down to dinner. It's the first time they've really socialized with each other. They're getting to know each other. Problem is, both of them have secrets that they're keeping from each other. And so when I was writing it, I said, well, this is going to be this long conversation and it's going to be a lot of telling, and this could really bog down the story. But so let's see if we can't make it a little bit more interesting. And as it turns out, Everest had been trying to make this traditional meal for him. And the sauce for the meal is just nasty by design. It's like, think atomic buffalo sauce or something like that, but worse. And so at the beginning of the conversation, the king goes up and gets 6 shot glasses, sets them, 3 in front of her, 3 in front of him, dumps the sauce in the shot glasses and says, okay, here's the deal. We're going to take turns asking each other questions, and we have to answer. But if we don't answer, we have to take a shot.
Oh wow.
And so now there's this back and forth about, okay, do I drink the sauce for this question, or do I save it in case he asks me something that I really can't answer? Or and there are times where he takes a shot and then she has to take a shot, and it's just
Nice.
it made the scene a lot more interesting, the back and forth and the strategy and the tension between the two of them as they're getting to know each other and realize, hey, you're really not as bad as I thought you were.
That's a really clever way of going about it.
Yeah, I agree. So, and I bet it's just so funny to boot.
Oh yeah. There was a point where she asks him a question and he just grabs a shot glass, slams it, and she says, "I don't know what to make of that." And he's like, "Make of it whatever you want."
That's awesome. So,
Oh, that's great. So when you go to edit, like, do you have a specific process? Do you self-edit or get others involved?
Well, for this, usually I do some self-editing myself, and I do not have a good process. Again, like I said, this last week I was at the One Year Adventure novel. My editor, Megan Gehrig, was there, and she was giving talks on how do you edit a book. And by the time it was done, I was sitting there going, I am doing this completely wrong. It's not the way I'm supposed to do it. Mine is much more slapdash. I'm doing line edits while I'm doing the development edits while I'm doing, it's basically I'm doing everything at once, which maybe isn't as helpful. But now I have employed editors in the past to help me kind of tune up books. When I'm getting ready to submit them somewhere, because I know that I'm going to miss things or I'm not going to see the things that I need to see. And so, like, I keep singing her praises, but that's because she's an amazing editor. Megan Gehrig really helped, really helped tune up both Drawn in Ash and Drawn Through Blood, and really made them really, really shine. And I'm really excited to work with her on the third book as well, because she has some great ideas, and she has it was scary a little bit talking to her in real life, because she's almost more enthusiastic about the story than I am. She just gets really into it, and just gets excited talking about ideas and where everything's going.
That's kind of cool.
That really is cool. So,
Yeah.
Aaron, do you want to take the next question?
Well, we kind of already talked about marketing, so do we want to?
So grab a D6.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Let's see then.
Go ahead and roll, John.
Oh, he's got one handy too. There you go.
I've got one right here, so let's see here. I got number 2.
All right. What is your favorite quote from all of Spec Fic?
Okay, it's gonna seem cliche and obvious, but no, I am your father.
That's always a good one.
If I have to pick one, that's the one I'm gonna pick.
Nice. From the best movie of the trilogy, too.
Absolutely, that's part of it, and plus I like the way that it's so subversive to the story that's unfolding, and reframes everything and changes the way that we think that the story needs to unfold and what it's going to be, because now instead of we need to completely destroy the evil, now we have to try to redeem the evil, and that just makes it that much more interesting.
Yep, definitely agree. Aaron, do you want to roll another D6?
So we got 6.
Okay.
All right, Aaron, go ahead and read it off.
Can we hear you? All of a sudden, we can't hear Aaron.
Can you not hear me still?
Mute yourself. There we go.
Okay. I rolled it and got a 4.
Okay.
So let's see. Number 4 is, what is your go-to snack while writing? I haven't asked that one in a while.
No, we haven't.
Go-to snack.
Or beverage of choice, really, too.
Okay.
Either
beverage of choice is easier because I got it sitting right here. It's always Coke. I'm one of those ones where if the waitress comes up and says, we don't have Coke, is Pepsi okay? My response is no. Only if tipping in Monopoly money is okay, then maybe it'll be okay. It's not the same thing. If I'm hungry, it's basically seeing whatever my kids have left me in the snack cupboard. Because
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I got a preteen and a teenager, and so sometimes it's a little dicey if I'm actually going to find anything in there.
I got some canned Brussels sprouts.
Exactly. Not quite in the mood for canned Brussels sprouts, so I guess I just need to let that slide.
Water it is today.
Yeah, might be crackers. I actually found one snack that's really, really good. I had never seen these until a couple months ago. They have big bags of Fruit Loops that are just these snack-sized packages of Fruit Loop cereal. And, you just grab it, rip it open. It's in a little foil pouch, and it's just a snack serving of dry cereal.
Well, there you go.
Really, really good.
Arguably nutritious, too.
That works.
Yeah. And for some reason, I seem to be the only one that eats them. So
even better. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
I like to keep circus peanuts on hand for that reason. I'm the only one who'll eat those.
Yeah, I've got a couple like that. If I come into the house with dark chocolate, I know nobody else is going to touch it but me.
Yeah, usually in my house we fight over who gets the dark chocolate. We usually have to. It all goes to our separate corners because me and him and my daughter, we all love dark chocolate. So
yeah.
But so John, what's up next for you? What are you working on now? I know you kind of mentioned the third book in the Esther retelling.
Yeah, I've so the last so I'm starting to write the third book, and my hope is that I can have the draft done and start editing it by the end of this year, because I'd like to be able to have the Kickstarter for that one in May of next year, sort of following the pattern of a May Kickstarter, December release, and not get too far away from it so that people forget about the series or get frustrated with me, like say, oh, I don't know, George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss or any of those guys who are waiting to
Basically,
release
just
their
milking
last
it.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be accused of that. But at the same time, I'm also working on editing a novella that was a stretch goal for the last Kickstarter, that focuses on one of the side characters and kind of gives his backstory and how did he get to be the person that he is and stuff like that. I call it The Storm's Eye. And then I'm also working on, and I've got too many irons in the fire right now. I think that's part of my problem.
Oh, I know that problem. Yeah.
Is yeah, I'm working on a short story that's going to be a magnet for my reader newsletter. That's sort of a bonus story set in the same story world as Drawn in Ash and Drawn Through Blood, just to give people a little hint of what it's about. And the way that I explain it is my kids and I were talking once about the world, and we thought, wouldn't it be funny if we created a character in that story world who's like Nicolas Cage from the National Treasure movies? Who's this gigantic
Yes.
conspiracy nut and, just kind of crazy. And I said, what would be even funnier is if we take the relationship of Zap Brannigan and Kif Kroker from Futurama and put that in the mix as well. So you have this
Oh,
adventurer
nice.
for hire who is absolutely bonkers and Nicolas Cage, that sort of thing. And he has an assistant who thinks he's absolutely crazy. And I don't know if I did it justice, but I wrote the first short story. It's Cage and the Outpost of Monolith, and it's I'm hoping to have that released in a couple of weeks so that people can start reading it and seeing
Oh,
what
that's
it's like. And
great.
Oh,
I've
I've got
got
to
a
look that
couple
up in
other
it, though.
yeah. I have a couple other ideas for Cage for adventures for him to go on, and we'll see how that goes. Those will probably all be free releases for people, just to say this is just for me having fun. So,
Nice.
You got to have a little fun.
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So. Josh or
Uh,
Aaron?
Aaron, do you want to wrap us up? And we can't hear you again.
All right.
You muted
Now?
yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I kind of got sidetracked with all that. Where are we at right now?
Number 9.
I got caught up in the idea for that short story and kind
I
of going
know,
over
that
that in my
was
mind.
fun.
Like, oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm like, where am I now? Oh, let's see. We'd already asked that. We asked that. So, where can
Number
we?
9.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, where can we go to learn more about you and your work?
Well, you can go to my website. That's johnwotte.com. And Otte is spelled Otte, just because that, people come up with weird ideas of how that's spelled. I've gotten a lot of car advertisements that,
So you put an R on the end and it'd be Otter.
yeah, that's
Yes.
true. That's true. That has information about all my stuff there, and you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And that's where you can find out more stuff as well.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Right.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. We sure have had a blast and tears of laughter.
Oh, yeah.
too, which is nice. So you're welcome to come back anytime. Let us know if you want to come back and hang out again.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, it was wonderful having you on, and looking forward to seeing what both your side characters and your main characters get up to.
Yep.
So
Oh, very good.
Mhm.
So we don't have anybody scheduled right now for upcoming shows. We're working on getting some new guests on soon. We just check our Facebook and Discord if to know when we are on next. Also, Aaron, how many episodes in your Vela series are out now?
I was just going to lead into that. If you, in lieu of more podcast episodes, you can go and read my short or I don't know, it's a short story serial novella.
Serial, I think, is what Vella's
Long
typically.
series. It's going to be one of those. But anyway, my serial story: unable to get hired as an adventurer because I'm a healer, I set out to become an A rank. Currently, episode 4 is out right now,
Awesome.
and next Friday, episode 5 will come out, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
All
So
right.
go
So,
check those
go
out
check
on
that out in the
Amazon.
meantime.
Yeah, go check those out on Amazon, and just look up Aaron DeMott. You should be able to find them pretty easily. Well, that's all we got today, guys. Again, John, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Sure was fun.
Oh yeah.
And we will catch you guys next time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
See ya.